Hello, and welcome to the Rough Idea podcast. We are obviously a repeating, uh, rolling schedule. That's the right word. Yeah, rolling. And this episode is Magic: The Gathering. It's been 4 weeks since the last one. I'm Nick,
I'm Yoshi.
And I'm John.
and there we go. That's that over and done with.
Quite a bit has happened for Magic in the last
Yeah.
few weeks. I guess it makes sense to start at the first thing, which was the Magic World Cup.
Start from the top.
Within the Magic World Cup, I'm going to start at the bottom because
Starting
with who won.
the
seems a
top
bit
of the
boring.
agenda, bottom of the placings.
Yeah.
So there were 73 teams in the Magic World Cup. 48 of them made day two. One of the teams that did not day two was Japan. And keep in mind, it's teams of four.
Interesting.
Two of their four were Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
They didn't day two. Their first
Excellent.
points in the tournament came in round 5. They were 0-4, and then they got a bye.
Right.
Cool.
So their first points were not having an opponent because they were at the bottom of the 73 teams. I'm stunned. They were one of the favourites going into the tournament. This is absolutely ridiculous that this has happened, and I love it. I always love upsets in tournaments. This is amazing. But weird. So weird.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I still struggle to remember many pros, but some of them that I do, obviously, I remember some people like LSV and Finkel, because
Right.
who wouldn't, right?
Yep.
But then there are there's a few Japanese players where I'm like, oh, they're pretty good. They're every time I end up watching, they're doing pretty well.
It's I remember you.
so-
You're familiar.
Yeah,
I
basically.
didn't actually make notes on who was in the teams, but I'm pretty sure it was Kenji Samura and Shota Yasuoka were the two Hall of Famers in the team.
Yasuoka
Yeah,
was
Yasuoka's the one I
the
know.
big one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And yeah, they 0-4'd, and then they got a bye, and they didn't day two.
That's
That's surprising.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some big interesting results. So obviously, I have to say how England did, because
I bet they did well.
They top 24'd.
Alright.
Well, that's better than the England football team. All I can say.
Fair that. They had a winning match versus Lithuania for top 16 and they lost it. Canada, one of the best teams in Magic, were eliminated by Macedonia.
Macedonia are known for their Magic playing prowess, so that makes sense.
Right, one of the best countries in the world.
Yeah. obviously.
France got eliminated by Malaysia.
Okay.
And the USA, admittedly. USA, again, one of the best teams, always going to be up there. USA had a bit of a weird one. They built Grixis Delver as one of their decks. I'll go into that in a bit more detail later. But they built one of their modern decks entirely around the player, basically. They picked their decks based on, this guy is good with this deck, we're going to let him do his thing, and we'll work around it.
Cool.
They ended up being eliminated by Macedonia.
See, Macedonia, man.
Down
in
to say Macedonia,
Right.
well known for their magic prowess.
It was Macedonia and Australia. It's double elimination, so they ended up basically being taken out by them. Spain, again, one of the biggest countries in Magic, eliminated by the Dominican Republic,
Awesome.
who, as a thing, the Dominican Republic made it to top 16, which, for a country that's fairly small as far as Magic goes, especially, they'll be happy with the top 16, I guess. Except they seeded top 8 going into day 2, so
Alright.
they'll probably be disappointed after that
Yep.
that they didn't then top 8.
Sure. Yeah.
So going into the top 8, again, still going through like big upsets, big interesting matches. Obviously, we're in top 8 at this point. A lot of them are surprising. The one that stands out is Panama.
Okay.
So Panama made the top 8 this year.
Right.
73 countries in Worlds. Where do you think they came last year?
71st.
73rd. They were bottom.
Nice.
Top 8 this year. Like,
I mean, that's a drastic improvement.
so, yeah, it's like the salty run back where they're just like, fuck it, we're not doing this badly again.
Yeah.
Top 8, like, fair credit to them. Like, ridiculous play over the weekend as well. Ended up as Greece versus Belgium in the finals.
Sweet.
Greece have been runners-up before. I don't actually know about Belgium. I don't think they've done amazingly before. But I was disappointed because Greece won and their decks were boring. Their decks were all basically the same between the finalists' teams. I was disappointed with either one. But
Yeah.
one of the matches there, I need to mention one of these matches was ridiculous. So, Infect versus Naya Burn. Greece are on Naya Burn, are on Infect, and they're 1-0 up.
Right.
Turn 1, Glistener Elf.
As you do.
Opponent goes turn 1, Goblin Guide and attack. And it was just one of those Infect draws where they went turn 2, Might of Old Crozer, Mutagenic Growth, Mutagenic Growth, Mutagenic Growth, 11U.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
I will pay 6 life. You die.
Yeah, that's a pretty good trade.
Infect is just one of those things. And
Sometimes you get the absolute nuts.
Infect was so I mentioned earlier the modern side of the tournament. So there was Team Sealed, where it's basically open 12 boosters, build 3 sealed decks.
Yep.
The other side was Unified Modern, which is a really cool format. We discussed it quite a bit in the last podcast.
I was
talking
going to ask about
predictions and ideas. I think we both said that we would be interested in some kind of mono red and some kind of like Merfolky deck, and then something with like all the
Like
fetches and whatever.
Atlazan or something like that.
Turns out
Or
fast lands are really good. I think I did mention Infect as a potential blue deck. But,
Yeah. You said
turns out the
something
fast lands are really, really decisive.
like that.
Naya Burn was possible because it had all the fast lands, so it didn't actually take up all the fetches.
Fair.
Infect, same thing. Infect's now got the green-black, and if it's in blue, the green-blue, and if it's in black, the green-black fast lands. So that was a big option. Basically, every team ended up on Naya Burn, Infect, or every team that was prominent in the tournament ended up on Naya Burn, Infect, and one of like Dredge or Goryo's Vengeance or something, like some combo deck at the end. So there were some outliers. I mentioned Grixis Delver being the center point of Team USA. Basically, Kevin Jones as a player is a very, very experienced Grixis Delver player. Like, he plays it at most SCG tournaments. He's been playing it basically, I think, since Delver was a thing, or since Modern was a thing. I guess they were around the same time. And so they built around him. They went with Infect as one of their others, and I can't remember the third. It wasn't Burn, because Lightning Bolts were in Delver. And that's the thing, they had to adjust so much around this Delver deck. But they did fairly well with it. They kept performing on camera, and fair credit to him, Kevin Jones won, I think, every single match he had on camera.
Sure.
So giving him his trusted deck made sense. Lantern Control was in a couple of teams, which I like that one. At first, I just love a Lantern Control because I'm a sadistic bastard, basically. But it's beautiful. Yep. It's a deck that like sits there and is like, I've won the game. I've not dealt any damage, but I've won.
Yep.
And I love it. Oh, it's so good. But that doesn't take up like anything from the other decks. Like, oh, you can't play Affinity. Nobody played Affinity anyway. So yeah, Lantern Control was a really, really good metagame call. One that I loved as well. Team Germany had Jeskai Ascendancy.
Right.
Yep.
And like, so I love the Ascendancy combo builds. I love all the ideas of that. Their build was basically Jeskai control with an Ascendancy win con. It had Remands, it had Path to Exile, it had Lightning Bolt, it had Snapcaster Mage to double plenty of those as needed. But Fate Stitchers, Fairy Conclaves, Jeskai Ascendancy. That's the important part. They basically would go every so often, oh, and I'm just gonna play, like, animate my Fairy Conclave, play a spell, play a spell, play a spell, play a spell, Phyrexian Nana, 3 spells, throw everything at the board, untap everything.
And then attack. Turn your dude sideways.
Right. Which, like, the spells kind of stuff was a big thing for the whole tournament. Blue-red spells was one of the decks that showed up quite a bit, actually, which was Kiln Fiend, basically. So Kiln Fiend, Thing in the Ice, and some builds, I think, had Young Pyromancers and Delvers as options. And Monastery Swiftspear, that was the other one.
Sure.
And it's a Team of Battle Rage deck, basically. Basically, you know the Death Shadow deck?
Yes.
It's that, but it doesn't kill itself.
Huh. I mean, that just seems better.
It's a little less consistent. You don't have as many big efficient threats. Like, the reason Death Shadow is so good is because you can just go, alright, well, Mutagenic Growth is +4/+4 now, and I'm putting a shit ton of stuff in my graveyard for Become Immense. I can just one-shot you. Like, turn 3, kill you easily.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas this one would generally take a couple of turns, chipping them down, whatever. But there was a game where it was just like play. I think it was like Lightning Bolt, Mutagenic Growth, or it was Mutagenic Growth on the Monastery Swiftspear. Lightning Bolt you, Team of Battle Rage, and so they paid like 3 mana. I think it was on turn 3. And then they're doing what with that? 15 damage total? 12 from the Swiftspear and then 3 from the Bolt. And it's just ridiculous. Like, that's not even like a particularly difficult set of cards to play. It's not like they're not flexible cards. Like, Swiftspear, Lightning Bolt, these are core cards. And then it's just like, oh, and Double Strike. Fuck you.
And whoa, okay, cool, I'm dead.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Team of Battle Rage.
It's a sweet ass card.
So Dredge, Vengeance, and like Ad Nauseam as the combo decks that showed up. They're the ones that were interesting because Infect and Iron were in like every team basically. It was that third deck that mattered, and like a few of them switched things up a bit. Not all of them had Naya Burn. Pretty much every team had Infect. Like, it was just such a good call for it, because Unified Modern, you're not taking up cards from other things. You've got the fast lands. You don't need as much in the way of fetches, in the way of like core cards for Modern or anything. It was such an efficient idea. And yeah, Greece and Belgium both kind of went a bit standard, and they made the finals, and yeah, Greece took it in the end quite comfortably.
Cool. Again, if you play it standard and safe, sometimes you're just rewarded for that, so fair.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Like, obviously, it's nice to see the weird decks. It was nice to see Jeskai Ascendancy, and doing quite well at that point as well. But at the end of the day, if you're going to a big tournament like that, the stakes are huge. You're not going to go, oh, but this isn't fun and interesting. You're going to go, no, this is going to win. I'm going to play it.
I'm all for playing fun and, silly decks, me more so than most, I think. But if you're going to try and win a tournament, maybe think about it winning.
Fun and interesting is good, but at tournament level, you get you focus on winning first, and then if it's also fun and interesting, if you can win, if you can win in a fun and interesting way, do it. But winning takes priority over that.
Yeah, you want something that's more consistent than anything, really.
Talking of consistent decks over being fun and interesting.
Nice segue, bro.
So standard right now. It's shifted a bit over the last couple of weeks again, which is nice. So the week after the World Magic Cup, there was one of the SCG Opens in standard, and they released some stats. They mentioned some stats at the start of day 2. 117 decks made day 2.
That's awesome
37 of those were green-black Delirium.
Less awesome.
Right.
31 were blue-white Flash.
Right.
And then 15 were vehicle decks. And then everything else was below that.
Yeah.
So, just to put that into some perspective here, 117 decks, and 68 of them are in the top 2 archetypes. So, over 50% of the day 2 metagame is either green-black Delirium or blue-white Flash.
Okay.
Over over the top 3 archetypes, there are 83 decks there, which means that there are 34 decks that were not in the top 3 archetypes, and 37 that were green-black Delirium. There were more decks that were green. More people made day 2 with green-black Delirium than not in the top 3 decks.
Yeah.
Like, it's shifted a bit now because black-red aggro has a really good matchup against. Well, it has a good matchup against both of those, like, top 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the standard metagame for a while, and also some of the Aetherworks Marvel decks have started rising up again recently. I think.
Yeah.
Because again, it's good against those decks, especially Delirium. But yeah, it's been an awkward metagame. I'm really hoping they ramp up the kind of stupid combo-y stuff in this set, because that's the stuff that will punish a like dirtly grindy deck like Delirium. But then at the same time, you know, there's going to be more vehicles, so vehicles will rise up again a bit. Like, we know for a fact that there's going to be some like big stompy artifact deck. It's just whether or not it's actually good. Yeah, I normally like watching Standard. I think that SCG tournament was the last Standard tournament I watched, because I'm sick of Delirium and I don't like flyers to begin with. It's a shame. I think the last couple of sets have been really cool and the Standard hasn't quite done it justice.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I think at least initially you saw some really cool stuff in the Standard. And then it's just kind of phased out, like within like a couple of weeks. It's kind of shifted to okay, here are some really, really consistent decks that just aren't quite as interesting to watch.
That's kind of the problem,
And
yeah.
you're
Like, the decks that were interesting weren't actually that efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, while at the start of the metagame where everyone's still adjusting, they're really quite good because you've got a dedicated game plan and you're working towards it, and nobody else quite knows how to answer it, or they don't have their game plan completely set in stone. As soon as they stabilize their game plan, you know, as soon as Green-Black Delirium was like, okay, here is the list. Like, admittedly, that's a bad example because you've got 2 lists, one aggressive, one defensive.
But yeah,
like,
we know.
Yeah.
Sure, you go, I'm going to play an aggressive Green-Black deck. Here is the list I run. And then suddenly your paradoxical outcomes and your Dynavolt towers do not get through this. Like, you cannot break down the wall they've built up because they know their deck and they've got their game plan and they do it better than you do. Which is a shame. So the upcoming sets do have some kind of... So we already know some of the stuff about the upcoming sets, obviously. We've started getting some of the Aether Revolt spoilers, which I think we'll save for now.
Sure.
Because that's going to be a lot of discussion there. But we already knew that the next 2 sets after this, the next block after this, was called Amonkhet. It's based on Egypt, Amonkhet, and Hour of Devastation. And we know that it's Nicol Bolas's home plane. So firstly, Nicol Bolas is coming back. Yes.
Everybody loves that evil dragon.
But we might now know the next block after that.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Wizards might have fucked up. They released a survey via email, which basically had a bunch of different questions, and one of them was like, it gave 8 different boosters, which were like 2 from each of 4 different sets, and then it was like, please click on the Hour of Devastation booster. or like something like that. It was like, can you identify an Hour of Devastation booster in this picture? Except it was Amonkhet, Hour of Devastation, and then Atlazan and Conquest of Power.
Yep.
So, firstly, we've got a name there, Atlazan, for the next world.
It definitely sounds like another new world.
Right.
It's
And we've also got a bunch of artwork between these boosters. So, Amonkhet, unsurprisingly, it's, typically Egyptian. It's got like a cat god thing, which they've already confirmed gods in Amonkhet, so I'm guessing like the cat thing on that art is one of the gods.
He's a god. Yeah.
New devotion, maybe?
I don't think they'll do devotion. I think they'll have a different way of. Like,
well, yeah, but a new kind of devotion. Yeah. That's why I said new devotion. Because some kind of new way of
a new god mechanic. Yes.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. New god mechanic.
Devastation. Our Hour of Devastation had the artwork of Nicol Bolas on one and like a mummy lich thing on the
mummy
other.
skeleton.
Right, which again makes sense for Bolas. Cards that we've seen from Amonkhet before are like Vengeful Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Bolas himself, I guess, and a lot of stuff that's connected to Bolas. Augur of Bolas is another one that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. So that kind of all makes sense. I don't think we learned anything new there, except that cat god thing looks kind of odd but cool, I guess.
Yep. If it's cat god and it's in white, I'm gonna get it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, fair. So Atlazan is the interesting one here. Atlazan had two. One of them is kind of merfolky.
Very merfolky.
So we're calling it Atlazan, and there's a merfolk on the front. It's Atlantis, isn't it? It's an underwater city, isn't it?
Atlantis the set.
Which is cool, I guess. I don't think they've ever done something like that, and I'll be interested to see how they make red in an underwater set.
Lightning, maybe electricity.
Well, there's red is meant to be like the passion and like rage and all of that kind of stuff. It's just like Chandra. Chandra is like definitively red.
She's gonna be in a bubble suit.
But like for the last few sets, they have just fallen back on red is fire. Yay!
Yep.
I mean, does she need a bubble suit? Could she not just like combust and just like walk through the water and just have like this kind of gap of air around her as she's just evaporating the water?
But then you run into the problem where she's burning all the oxygen.
Nah,
that's fine.
So firstly, it's an underwater city, I guess, but I'm guessing it's not like entirely living underwater. I'm guessing it's like actually a city built underwater.
Yeah.
With like this capacity to survive with that, and the merfolk will exist as part of that ecosystem because they're the ones who can venture out.
Definitely.
The other piece of artwork on that, by the way, was far more interesting for me. So it's a Gorgon of some kind, and it kind of looks like Vraska.
Yeah, I think it's totally Vraska.
And like, so in the storylines, the last we heard of Vraska was that she planeswalked away from Ravnica. So, just to fill people in on this, for those who don't read the stories, I think it was between Innistrad and Kaladesh. Ral Zarek went to Jace and basically said, look, there was this project Niv Mizzet did ages ago where he was tracking planeswalkers. We managed to hide it. We never, because obviously Ral Zarek wants to hide that, or else Niv Mizzet's going to experiment on him. So he goes to Jace and he's like, we've managed to hide it. There's a few planeswalkers. I occasionally keep an eye on the results, but everyone else dismissed it as, useless information because we fucked it up in the past. He basically goes, Vraska came up on that project. She planeswalked away. She didn't land anywhere. She has planeswalked into basically a void.
Okay.
So Vraska has apparently disappeared, and now she might be showing up in some kind of underwater city.
I mean, it looks like Vraska. I'm pretty sure.
It really does. So that's something to go on to. I think that's like a cool thing with the stories.
So I guess the implication there is that there's some form of barrier where she planeswalked to, right?
Either that or
like something that at least like potentially something that's at least covered up her presence or something.
Or
right?
either that, or she is literally just like trapped in the void.
I mean that too.
And
But,
I actually, to be fair, I almost think that's the kind of way they could do an almost underwater city. I don't think it's underwater. I think it's between planes. I think it's like a civilization built between planes. She's planeswalked away and got trapped there, basically, or got caught there. And the Gatewatch are going to do, or some of the Gatewatch are going to do the same. It's also a very good way of not going, and here's the entire Gatewatch saving the day again. If some of them get trapped there, for example, if it's like they are in the middle of planeswalking and they get like basically hit a wall, and some of them can't get out of this place, then that makes sense as well. So that's what I imagine for Atlazan, which I would love if this is right. Like, that sounds like a really cool idea, but it does really bring up some like weird ideas for what planeswalking can do.
Yeah,
like
interesting
the rules,
lore questions.
Yeah, the rules aren't exactly well established, and having an area between like planes would make that even weirder, especially if there are characters there who aren't planeswalkers.
Yeah.
I
mean,
yeah, go on.
So, like, there's no actual information about the set at all yet, right? Just
There's
the name and the pictures.
Yeah,
there
it's
is
just the
artwork.
art.
Just the name and the pictures.
Well, so yeah.
I was gonna, or at least I've been sat here looking at it, entertaining the possibility it could be Theros again, but specifically underwater. I don't know.
The name.
It's not.
So the thing is, when they return to a set, they tend to make that obvious. Shadows over Innistrad, Return to Ravnica, Scars of Mirrodin, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Atlazan sounds like an area. It sounds like a plane. In and of itself. The other thing I was going to say, though, is if you look at the background artwork on the booster, like the top kind of background section.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that bit.
Almost like Incan kind of markings.
Incan Mayan, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so, firstly, it's very reminiscent of like the Disney Atlantis, which kind of did the same thing. So if it is Atlantis, then, well, they're not exactly exploring uncharted territory here. But, like, if it's not actually Atlantis, it could be just a kind of, like Mayan, Incan kind of plane.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting, and it would make sense with gods.
Yeah.
I would love to see them do that. I think that's a really interesting mythos that isn't explored enough. I think there's a lot of cool things they can do there.
Sure.
For sure.
Sure.
The other thing that I haven't mentioned here, or might have mentioned and switched away from, is that the set after Atlazan is called Conquest of Power.
And it has the same sort of arty stuff as the Atlazan was. So
yes,
I feel like it's going to be the next set in the block. So.
Yeah, and it's got Ajani as one of the characters on the artwork. And then, like, almost like an angelic knight character. It looks very Bant.
Yeah, I could see that. She's got a very Bant look about her. Yeah.
Like,
she's all about the bants.
Yeah. Fat Bants.
But, like, so that's weird, firstly. The fact that we've gone from, like, Incan background and underwater character to Angel? Like, that jump doesn't seem to make sense to me. But, also the name, Conquest of Power.
Yeah,
on the one hand,
quite different from Atlazan, the sort of mystical sounding place.
Yeah. And on the one hand, it makes me quite happy because, like, cool storyline, Conquest of Power, that sounds like it'll be interesting. On the other hand, I really don't want them to just do Theros again, where Xenagos was trying to become a god, like, trying to be in that upper echelon. I really do not want them to do that again.
I mean, I don't think they will. I think it'll be maybe some kind of invading force where they're going to do some conquesting, maybe.
Right, yeah. And, well, if it's Vraska, though, I feel like Vraska would happily try and take over. But then if the angels are there, then sure, maybe it's like the angels have come in and they're trying to like liberate this area. Except then that's a little bit Shadows over Innistrad.
Yeah.
So like I'm curious to see where they go. We're going on nothing but a name here, so I'm really curious to see where they go with that.
Can't wait for it to be completely unrelated in name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of this speculation is just completely useless.
Yeah, we're going to Atlazan. It's a world based on... I couldn't think of anything in time. Fuck. I don't know, like, the Maori. What?
I would love to see a card based on the hacker.
Primal Dance.
Just me?
Green, red.
Me?
Let's go.
It would be a pump spell. It would have to be.
Yes.
Could you not make a creature that's doing it and it's got Intimidate because of how like
Oh yeah. You could
scary
also
the
do
dance
that.
is? How yeah.
But you'd have to have a
Perfect.
card for the dance itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Let's get on to the main bit of this then. So there's been a lot of Aether Revolt leaks / spoilers.
There's been a fair few. Yeah.
Some.
So I'm gonna just I know I've said this to you guys individually. I don't think I've said it on a podcast recently, at least. So I'm just gonna reiterate my stance on leaks, firstly, which is basically I don't like that they happen. I think it kills the game completely. The one that stands out is Oath of the Gatewatch. Yeah, Oath of the Gatewatch, where they revealed the colourless symbol and wastes.
Yeah.
And they were leaked before any of the spoilers had started. And so when those things were actually being revealed, there was no hype. They was built up completely badly, and all of that momentum was killed. They have their releases set in a very particular way to make it as exciting as possible.
Yeah, it does sort of build everything up to a crescendo.
Yeah. And I hate the leaks that just destroy that. I think it's really underwhelming and really annoying when that happens, and basically hurts the game. On the other hand, I am not going to go out of my way to avoid leaks. If they happen, I'm probably going to see them through Magic pages on Facebook, through forums, through Reddit, things like that. So I'm not going to go out of my way to avoid the leaks, and I'll happily discuss them here with the basic disclaimer that these leaks fucking suck, but as long as they exist, I'm going to use them for the information,
Sure.
So the first thing that came out was a bunch of different cards, promos and stuff like that. I think 2 of these are the game day promo. One of them was like the pre-release promo. Oh, the release day promo.
Have there been any official spoilers?
Yes.
Okay. So that's alright then.
Yeah, basically, I think everything except for the initial 4 and then one other maybe were official.
Okay.
So the initial 4, we've got... So 3 of them are rares and 1 of them's an uncommon. But the uncommon is one of the ones that excites me the most. So we've had Trinket Mage, which finds really cheap artifacts. And we've had Treasure Mage, which finds expensive artifacts. So those are 1 or less, 6 or more. And now we have Trophy Mage, which can find stuff that costs exactly 3.
Yes. Slap it right back in the middle.
Like, it's the same mana cost, exactly. It's 2 and a blue, it's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for an artifact. All the same templating, but it costs exactly 3.
Yeah.
So for standard, there are a couple of things that come to mind for this. Dynavolt Tower is a big one. Because those decks become a lot more consistent. Foundry Inspector, the 3 mana 3/2 that says your artifacts cost 1 less.
Yep.
And there's one other, which I'll come to in a second. But
Yep.
But one of the interesting applications for this is Modern, because Ensnaring Bridge costs 3 mana. And that is a ridiculous card.
Hey, let's make Ensnaring Bridge decks better. By making sure you get Ensnaring Bridge.
Because, Lantern wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
We'll just make it so that they don't need to run as many. I guess Lantern wouldn't run it anyway, because they don't have any other 3-drops. But, there are going to be dedicated decks that will find, Ensnaring Bridge into something else, I could imagine. So the other card I want to mention is one of the other ones that was leaked. Scrap Trawler. 3 mana 3/2. Whenever it or another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return target artifact in your graveyard with a lower converted mana cost to your hand. The actual phrasing of it is weird, but yeah. I don't know why it's return to your hand target artifact with lesser converted mana cost.
Yeah.
Like, that seems odd, but whatever. I think this is a ridiculous card.
Super, super good.
Like, you get a way of sacrificing artifacts, and you can just do stupid things with this. Like, obviously, when it dies, it can get a 2 mana or less artifact back. And, like, if you've got another Scrap Trawler in your graveyard, then you can, like, start sacrificing 4 or 5 mana stuff to get a Scrap Trawler back, to play a Scrap Trawler. Also, let's keep in mind that Scrap Trawlers trigger separately.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll sacrifice a 4 mana artifact and get back 2 3 mana artifacts. Sacrifice one of my Scrap Trawlers and get back 2 2 mana artifacts. Yeah, there's a lot of dumb stuff you can do with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of really funny stuff I think you can do with it.
Right. Servos become a lot better.
Yes.
Or a lot worse.
Well,
no,
there's zero. There's zero. Yeah, okay, never mind.
Basically, the thing I was thinking, like, the reason my mind went to that, the thing I was thinking was any artifact that makes tokens becomes a lot better. But I think there's, like, 1 fabricate artifact, maybe 2, and they're a bit shit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually work quite as I was hoping. But there's going to be potential for this card. I mean, there might already be. Who knows? But yeah, I love it. I love stuff like this.
Yep, it's super sweet.
Quicksmith Rebel was the other leaked card that's, like, artifacty. I'm not a big fan of this. It's just, like, cheap rare fodder, I think.
When I first read it, I thought it was going to be like it did it to every single artifact. So It was like the enchantment from Origins, which makes every Ghirapur Aether Grid. Yeah, I thought it was something like that, and I thought, wow, that's really powerful. And then it's it's just one.
So on the one hand, like, it's better and worse than that, because it's just 1 artifact gain. Like, when this enters, it's 4 mana 3/2. When it enters, target artifact you control gains tap, deal 2 damage to target creature or player for as long as you control the Quicksmith Rebel. So I guess you're only doing 2 damage for 1 artifact, whereas Ghirapur Aether Grid was 1 damage for 2 artifacts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, playing a 4 mana 3/2 to make one of my artifacts king things is really, really underwhelming.
Not great.
Great limited card. I imagine this will be amazing in limited, because you're just like, okay, play this, shoot down your guy.
Yep.
You've got to have removal, or I just ping out anything with 2 toughness.
Yeah, the difference between 1 and 2 ping is incredible.
Yeah. But then the difference between, like, repeated, like, you can build around this.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason that Ghirapur Aether Grid didn't see that much play in limited, but sees play in modern.
Yeah.
Like, if you can build around a card like that, it works a lot better, whereas this one is less build around, but will be better for limited. Yeah, that's cool. So the other leaked card was Yahenni's Expertise, and this is the one that people were, like, really ranting and raving about. So it's 2 black sorcery. All creatures get -3/-3 until the end of turn, and you may cast a card with a mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost.
This seems really powerful.
So, I don't like this card.
Go on.
Except for 1 deck. And that's really disappointing. Because the deck where this is good is green-black. It's Delirium. Again. And even then, probably as a sideboard card. But basically, Delirium has Ishkanar as a big threat. And admittedly, you're going to kill the spiders with this. But it has Ishkanar. It has Grimflayer. Yeah, Emrakul. I can't think of what else is in Delirium now. Fuck. Some of them are running Mind Rack Demon. That's fine against this. Like, all of your creatures survive it. A card that costs 3 or less, you're looking at Grimflayer. You're looking at your Vessel. Liliana. Extra removal if you need it. Discard if you need it. grapple from the past. Like, there are a lot of options in Green-Black Delirium. My issue is, people are talking about this as the new Languish. Like, it's a Black Wrath effect that also has this other really good ability on it. What does -3/-3 do in the current format?
Yeah.
Like, you're looking at 4 mana for -3/-3. Well, if you're in a control deck, go white and go Fumigate. 1 more mana, and you gain a shit ton of life instead.
And you kill everything.
Killing things.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, -3/-3, the one thing it's better against, or the kind of one deck it's better against, is blue-white. It's the blue-white flash. Because Selfless Spirit, well, -3/-3 doesn't help. You know, you sacrifice your Selfless Spirit, everything still dies. Same for Avacyn. And this kills Spell Queller. But then, like, in a control deck, what are you going to play that's 3 or less that you care about? Like,
Fair.
you've got Liliana still, and you've still got Transgress the Mind, or the 1 mana 1 from Kaladesh. I can't think what it's called. The one that scries.
The birds?
Harsh Scrutiny. Yeah, Harsh Scrutiny.
Yeah.
But, like, otherwise, the only things I can really think of are stuff like Anticipate. And Anticipate is not that good.
Yeah, it's not exactly a power play when you maybe wipe the board and then anticipate.
Right. That's not worth 4 mana.
Yeah.
And 2 cards. Like, you're not copying the spells you're doing. Like, you've still got to play that card. It just doesn't seem worth it. I don't think it's a very good card, except in the tempo mid-rangey decks, of which the best one right now is the best deck in the format, which is Green-Black Delirium. I think that wants this as a sideboard option.
Sure.
And that's it.
Yeah. All right.
I don't like this as a control card. Right. So the next set of cards that were out. So the first one we got was our first Planeswalker for the set.
Yeah.
The actual set one. This is the actual, like, set Planeswalker as well. So we've got the 2 Planeswalker deck ones, and then we've got one of the 2 of those in Aether Revolt, which is Ajani Unyielding. So 6 mana, 4 green-white. So he's staying in green-white, apparently. Comes in with 4 loyalty. +2, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all non-land permanents revealed this way into your hand. The rest go to the bottom in any order. -2 is just Swords to Plowshares. Exile a creature, gain life equal to toughness. Its controller gains life equal to power. Sorry. -9, so that's, 3 ticks up, and then -9. Put 5 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, and 5 loyalty counters on each other Planeswalker you control. So it's each other Planeswalker. You can't just, like, chain ultimate.
just go on himself,
Like, every, 3 turns that would be?
Yeah,
two every 3 turns, wouldn't it? Yeah. That's ridiculous. Or no, something like that. Whatever, my maths is terrible. So yeah, I don't like the ultimate. I can see why they've done it. It's like a big splashy fun thing that's over the top, and it's cool when you pull it off.
Yeah.
But if you need that ultimate to win the game, that ultimate won't win you the game.
Yeah. See, the fact, like, what you just said it's like a big, fun, splashy ultimate that's cool to pull off, right?
Yeah.
That is the reason I like it, just because of how fun its design is, right? It's interesting, because there's things you can... It's like, it's not good, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I at least like that much. Also, while we're, like, talking on at least positives of the card, can I say I really like the art? Like,
the art is gorgeous.
The other Ajani is better, but they are both beautiful.
I disagree. I think Unyielding is
I don't
better.
know. I like Unyielding's art more.
I like bright colours, to be fair.
There's something nice about the other Ajani, but
I really
this one's
like
just kind of
colours.
This one's just hench. That's all I can say.
Okay, there is that.
I love the orange goldness though. That's
yeah.
As a thing,
pretty majestic.
Going back to the ultimate a second. So Nick, you mentioned earlier that you want to, like, have somebody go, I play this Planeswalker,
So,
I ultimate my other Planeswalker. I did look earlier and notice the fact that Tameo Field Researcher comes in on 4 and ultimates for 9.
Yeah, like
it's almost like it was planned.
I just want to see like someone managed to pull that off. Of like they're running some nice, strong impact, like high impact kind of planeswalkers in that sense. Like Tameo would be a good one because Tameo's ultimate is that kind of thing of, well, if you
Tameo's
use
ultimate
that,
is you basically
like,
win the game.
What the fuck, right?
Like draw 3 cards. And everything.
Exactly.
Like omniscience for the rest of the game. Whoops.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So like, I just think it would be really cool to see someone go, oh, I've got my Ajani big enough. Play like, I mean, in this case, play Tameo, ultimate Ajani. Now Tameo has enough to ultimate on the turn she's played. Just
my Tameo, draw 3 cards, just play everything.
It's literally just like play around play around this planeswalker you didn't know was coming. Oh shit, you can't rip.
Yeah, like, do you have a counter spell?
Yeah, basically.
Are you in blue? Nope. Okay, rip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the cards... if the card is playable, so it's really hard to judge it not knowing the metagame, and I do think the metagame is going to shift a lot with this set. But if this Planeswalker sees play, I think what it'll be is it'll come in on 6, and it'll -2, and it'll exile something. And then it'll +2, and then it'll -2, and then it'll +2, and it'll keep doing that for as long as it fucking can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having just a Swords of Plowshares on a stick is really good.
Right. Like, it's only one of the best removal spells ever printed.
Yeah.
If not the best. So, like, why not? Let's just throw that on Ajani.
And it's, getting lots of cards, potentially, from his +2, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, obviously you can build your deck around that. He finds Planeswalkers. He can pick up, like, Quarantine Field, for example. Mm-hmm. There's ways you can build your deck to work with that Ajani. So the other Ajani is the Planeswalker deck one. Still 6 mana, still comes in on 4. +2, put 2/+1 counters on up to 1 creature. +1, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature. Put that into your hand and the rest on the bottom in any order. Or in a random order, sorry. And -11, put X+1 counters on a creature. X is your life total. That creature also gains trample until end of turn. It's not particularly powerful. It's doing what a Planeswalker deck is meant to do. Yeah. It's kind of mirrors the other card, but it's nowhere near as good at it.
Sure.
Can you just imagine, like, this person is building up their Ajani, they're struggling, they get it to 11, they're like, yes! They put X+1/+1 counters on their creature and give it trample. Let's say they have they still have 20 life. They just put 20+1/+1 counters on something and give it trample. They're like, it's time to win the game. They swing, and then they play an instant, destroy target attacking creature.
Yeah.
It's just like, bounce it.
And you're like,
that would be the worst one.
Any control spell. Oh.
Well, the one specifically, I'm thinking Select for Inspection will be in the Tezzeret deck.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it's like a current Kaladesh thing, it's with the Consular, it all makes sense. So I was just like, they go, I'm going to put all my counters on this, and it's going to have trample, and I'm going to attack you, and 1 mana, bounce it.
It's just, that's the thing, like...
On the bright side, like, having 2 pluses on the Ajani as well means that, like, if they can't deal with it, you're probably safe to just go up to 12, and then go down to 1, and then keep doing it again.
Yeah, definitely. But, like...
Yeah,
it's just I get it is a Planeswalker from one of the dual decks. So
I will just say
not necessarily be as strong, but like its ultimate scene, like its ultimate's the kind of defining factor as like the one where you can use its loyalty, right? But it's putting all of your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
That's a lot of eggs.
So easy. So yeah, it's like, right. So you've got like a factory of chickens that are all you're mass producing eggs, and they're all being funneled into one basket that's put on the back of some creature.
So I'm just going to point out one thing with this
fall
Ajani.
Over.
Though. I think this Ajani could see standard play.
Right.
For one reason and one reason alone.
Okay.
That +1. That traditionally, that kind of effect has been really, really powerful. Maybe not on a 6 mana Planeswalker, like it's hard to say, but anything that says reveal cards until you hit X is really powerful. Like, think of Goblin Charbelcher as the first one that comes to mind here. Like, it's a 5 mana artifact that has like 4 tap, so it's like 9 mana to actually use it in 1 turn. And it says, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land. it does X damage, where X is the number of revealed cards, and if the revealed land was a mountain, then it does double that damage. And there are vintage decks dedicated to this card because you play one land in your deck and you find it really early and you flip your entire deck and deal that much damage to them.
I get that.
So I'm expecting
the effect of the reveal until X is
sure, it's
not
better.
Quite as ridiculous.
Obviously, it's much better.
Abuse it.
Hermit Druid is another one. Hermit Druid is something along the lines of reveal the top X cards until you reveal a land, put the rest into your graveyard, and people used that as a way to mill out their decks. They would play decks with 0 lands and just mill out everything with a Hermit Druid. I could see this Ajani going into a kind of combo deck that relies on a creature and doesn't need any other creatures. And just going 6 mana, play Ajani, +1 Ajani, find my one creature that I need. I'm not sure where I see this happening. I'm not sure how I see this happening, but there is potential for that card to see play outside of the Planeswalker decks.
It's one of those cards which maybe someone finds a way to just break it open.
Right, that kind of mechanic has the potential to be broken. It's whether or not being on a 6 mana Planeswalker is worth it.
Yeah.
Related to that, the Tezzeret from the Planeswalker deck. So it's Ajani and Tezzeret. And the Tezzeret is really good. Actually, for a Planeswalker deck one, it's really good. 6 mana, comes in on 5 loyalty. It's 4 blue-black. +1 is reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact, put it into your hand and a rest on the bottom. It's almost like we were just saying something about the Ajani's +1.
Hey, no
-3, target opponent loses life equals the number of artifacts you control. And -8, gain control of all artifacts and creatures target opponent controls. Well then.
Yep.
That happened.
Permanently gain control of all of their stuff.
Yeah.
And so I know this is a stupid example, but there is a doubling season deck in Modern, right? There is a deck in Modern. Well, there is a deck that goes Jace Architect of Thought, and if you've got a doubling season, that immediately lets you search both players' libraries for cards and play them. And so you find a Jace Architect of Thought, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. This Tezzeret can just come in and be like, I'm having all your stuff. And admittedly, that's not amazing, but there are ways to proliferate this, there are ways to protect it. I think this is a very powerful card, and I don't think that it'll be unbalanced. I don't think it'll break standard. I don't really think it'll see play in standard. But this is a very, very powerful Planeswalker for what is meant to be basically unplayable. And all that raises in my mind is, if this is the Planeswalker deck Tezzeret, what the fuck is the actual Tezzeret going to look like?
Hopefully super sweet.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I love artifacty combo shit. Right, so the other card, I think this was leaked. Again, I haven't been looking into stuff, I will admit. Which ones were and which ones weren't. But so there's a new vehicle. It's a 2 mana for a 4/4 with flying and vigilance that crews for 3. It's legendary and mythic.
Yeah.
And you may remove a loyalty counter from a Planeswalker you control rather than paying its cost. The crew
cost specifically.
The crew cost, sorry, yes.
Which is 3.
At which point it's a 2 mana 4/4 flying vigilance that can attack if you pay 1 loyalty counter.
Yeah.
So play it with Lily? Are there any other 3 mana Planeswalkers? Tameo? Yeah.
Tameo's the best one for this. She's 4 mana, but the point is that you put Tameo into play, remove a counter to activate Heart of Kiran, and then plus the Tameo, targeting the Heart of Kiran and something else, and then attack for 4 with vigilance, draw a card, and then block, draw a card.
Yeah, sure.
Tameo's plus works really well with vigilance, and this works really well with Planeswalkers and has vigilance, and the two together seem really good.
Yeah.
There's probably more to this deck that I'm not even thinking of right now, Always Watching.
I mean, just,
more. Or Avacyn, because it's another thing with vigilance. But,
if you just play, I think, Bant good stuff with that, I think it'd be pretty sweet. Some Gideons and...
I guess it's blue-white flash again, except...
Yeah.
you splash green for Tamiyo's.
Sure.
Because Tamiyo's good with that deck anyway, let's face it. You probably cut some of the early game stuff, I guess. Like, Thriving Inspector's just good enough that you don't cut it, but I guess it depends on the metagame, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Some of those lists have been playing Bruna and Gisela, and I love it. I opened up a stream at one point. It was that SCG one I was talking about earlier. Opened it up the next day, and I hadn't, like, I'd been asleep for part of it, or I think it was like a replay between stuff or whatever. Open it up, open the stream, and see Bruna and Gisela. Like, I opened it just in time to see Bruna come into play and return Gisela, and it was perfect.
Beautiful.
It was absolutely. I returned just in time to see that and be like, shit.
You returned just to see like the combo as intended. The synergy. I am returning one half and playing it with this first half, and boom! Suddenly, big fucking mutated angel. Let's go.
And then I saw the next turn where they like tapped it or something. I can't remember. They made it so it couldn't block, and then attacked with 2 creatures through the 1 blocker for lethal.
As you do.
Merge Bracella on stream. Meld Bracella on stream. Immediately lose the game.
That must feel so bad. Like you've just done one of those huge oh fuck moments, right?
Right. Yeah. This is one of the things they wanted to see.
You lose in such a fucking pathetic way.
Oh, it was a smuggler's copter and like something. Or it might have been.
Of course, it was a smuggler's copter.
Right. What else is it going to be?
Another smuggler's copter.
So. Okay, so the next
one.
I'm going to move on to the next few cards now. So
yes.
4 cards, 4 rares that were, I think, leaked and then revealed or something. I don't know exactly how these ones came about, but they are official at this point anyway. So Disallow is 1 blue counter spell, except it's counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability.
Yep.
Now, let's keep in mind, triggered abilities are when you cast Emrakul, the Promised End.
Yes.
That is a triggered ability. Anything that says, like, when, whenever, or as, I think it is.
Play Emrakul. No, you're not taking my turn. Fuck you.
Yeah, you can have your 13/13, but I'm keeping my turn and I'm going to kill it.
So, I mean, what you're saying is you can have your 13/13, but not like the big reason you play it for. Just
right.
For the big
you just get a big
monster.
You only get a 13/13 with flying, trample, protection from instance.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I mean, that's still really, really nice, obviously.
Yeah.
But you're not getting the, oh look, I get to play all of your good cards in your hand in the wrong ways. Have
right.
fun.
Yeah. That your kill spell is, if you play Disallow on the Emrakul trigger, your kill spell is going at Emrakul and not at your own thing, like your own.
It's going at their Emrakul and not your Emrakul.
Right. So one of the other big splashy cards that came out, and this is a very, very interesting one flavor-wise. So it's
hang on.
2 blue, black, red.
Yeah.
What? Wait, what?
I was just gonna say,
is it about this card?
Can you disallow Emrakul though, because it's got protection from instants?
Yes, you can, because it's still a spell. The permanent has protection. The spell.
It's okay.
So anyway, 2 blue, black, red. So Grixis colors.
Yeah.
What's Grixis again?
So each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, then discards a card. You return a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard to hand, and then draw a card. Now, you guys might be aware of this very well-known, very popular card from, I don't know, about 7 years ago now, I think, maybe a bit more, called Cruel Ultimatum. So this was in Shards of Alara on Grixis, and it was like blue, blue, black, 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 red, red for a sorcery that was like, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures, discards 3 cards, and loses 5 life, I think it is. It might be 3. I don't think it's all 3s. And then you return that many creatures from your graveyard to, I think, hand still. Draw 3 cards and gain 5 life. So this is a bit of a throwback to Cruel Ultimatum. It's a weaker version, but it's a throwback to it. Except it then says, when you cast a Bolas Planeswalker spell, Exile Dark Intimations from your graveyard, and that Planeswalker enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter. So Nicol Bolas...
Wouldn't it be interesting if Nicol Bolas was in this set?
That one Nicol Bolas guy.
Right. So there's some interesting stuff with this. We know we're going to Bolas's home plane next. We know that Amonkhet is where Bolas came from. Is the Bolas going to be in this set, or is it going to be in Amonkhet?
I mean,
I could see them doing it.
So
I could see them going. So keep in mind, the other thing I've got to point out here, the other thing that hints to this, firstly, is the story spotlight cards they started doing in Kaladesh. Or, well, they've done them before, but they started highlighting, I think, in... Was it Kaladesh or was it Shadows? Whatever. Basically, they point out the major parts of the story on the card. So the idea is that even if you only buy packs and you don't keep up on the site, you can follow the story, vaguely.
Yeah.
There are 5 story spotlight cards. Dark Intimations is the 5th story spotlight card. It is the last part of the storyline, apparently. That's pretty interesting, I think. I think it might be that we don't get a Bolas in Aether Revolt. I think it might only be an Amonkhet.
On the other hand, what could happen? So obviously, Tezzeret's been in Kaladesh, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So we could see as far as story goes, it could be Aether Revolt ends with Kaladesh is fucked in some way or another because thanks Nicol Bolas, because he likes doing what he does.
Right, yeah.
Which is fuck around for fun. See what happens, shits and giggles, the whole gist. And then main two shoes Planeswalkers like the Gatewatch, not all of them, probably some of them, just go, hey, how about we maybe go after Bolas to Amonkhet? And I don't know, in that case, I think it probably would be a Bolas in the next set rather than this.
Well,
but,
so given that Amonkhet is Bolas's home plane, what I imagine is it's either we get... The question isn't whether or not we get Nicol Bolas and Amonkhet. I think that will happen either way. The question is whether or not we also get one in Aether Revolt.
Yeah.
I've seen someone...
Back Bolas, let's go!
I've seen someone throwing around a hilariously bad idea, which is that they print a Nicol Bolas with 4 abilities, but one of the abilities is... all of the abilities in minus, and the last one costs 1 more than it enters with.
Huh.
So you have to Dark Intimations to get it. Except that would be a terrible idea, because right now you've also got Oath of Gideon.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. So there's interesting stuff with Bolas there. Like I say, that's the last story spotlight, though. The one before that is also Tezzeret Bolasi, which is Battle at the Bridge. And I keep wanting to say Big Bridge because of Gilgamesh in Final Fantasy V.
Yeah, definitely.
But so I love this card. This is the control card for the set, and I love it.
Yeah.
Blackened X and sorcery. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, and you gain X life. So, for those who remember Deathwind, which was a limited common, it was not a particularly great card, but it was playable. This is that, except you also gain that much life. Except also it's got Improvise, which is a new keyword. Your artifacts...
Really cool.
It's basically, yeah. I don't like the phrasing on it. It's really weirdly done. But basically, for those who remember Convoke, it's Convoke, but with artifacts instead of with creatures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The way they've done it is that specifically it says your artifacts can help cast a spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 mana. And I don't understand why that distinction is in there, other than people getting confused over the sequencing with things like tapping an artifact that generates mana, and whether or not you can tap them twice and things like that.
That'll probably be made closer to.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing I can expect. But either way, this is basically Blackened X, deal -X/-X something and gain X life, and you can make it easier to cast or more effective or whatever using artifacts, which is ridiculous. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that is going to be one of the bombiest rares in Limited, for one. Like, being able to just kill something and gain that much life with, like, servos and artifacts and shit like that is going to be really good. But also, like, if there's going to be a control deck in Standard, it's going to play that card. It has to.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even ignoring Improvise, that card is good.
Yeah.
Not quite Sphinx's Revelation, but...
Yeah,
good.
but getting there.
-X is equivalent to draw X cards, right? That's how that works.
Yeah, sure.
So the other story spotlight I haven't mentioned, this is like my favourite card in this set so far. Pia's Revolution, 2 and a red, enchantment. Whenever a non-token artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return it to your hand unless target opponent has Pia's Revolution deal 3 damage to them. So I briefly played Tiny Leaders when that was a thing. And
I know this.
And I played Aetherios, God of Passage, who does that with creatures. And it was one of the most fun decks I have ever played. I loved it. Sacrifice my Perilous Mere, deal 2 damage. Are you going to pay another 3, or am I going to get this back? Sacrifice outlets everywhere in the deck. Crypt Rats, which does X damage to everything, including itself. So it dies, so they lose another 3. Oh, but it just did X damage to them. And eventually they go down to, like, 5 life, and they can't pay for some of them, like... worse cards, except the worst cards are things like when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. I love that deck. Pia's Revolution, same thing, better, modern.
I definitely think it's going to be in modern for sure.
So the things that stand out with this are you need a way to sacrifice artifacts. All right, there's a few of those. We can come up with a few of those. Yep. Mishra's Bauble, 0 mana artifact. Tap, sacrifice it, look at the top card of the target player's library, draw a card at the beginning of the next upkeep. So it's a 0 mana artifact that says draw a card. I will loop those. There are ways to make artifacts cheaper, so you can loop those instead. You've got Spell Bomb, so Pyrite Spell Bomb is infinite damage if they are letting you have it back, so they have to get rid of it. And basically the way this deck would work is to play a bit of burn and a bunch of artifacts that they can't give you back. So each of those artifacts acts as a burn spell. And you basically play a deck of Lava Spikes. And, like, I'm going to build that.
Absolutely. Just
cool.
I would
go
put
nuts.
money, but,
Oh, man. I started working for a Magic retailer. I can get cards with a staff discount.
They're giving you money and a discount.
Oh, my God. It's like 10% off, but it's like 100% off because they're paying me. I'm working for cards.
When you put it that way, it sounds super sketchy.
It sounds better and worse.
Working and I'm being given cards.
No, I'm not. I'm being given money. I'm just immediately giving it back to them.
I know.
Like, I am choosing to take the cards. I'm being offered the money. I just don't want it.
See, I remember when I said, when I get some income going, I'll be able to buy things like cards again. It'll be great. No, I have so many things I need to pay for first. I have an income, and I'm like, I can't see the time to purchase cards until like maybe like half a year on.
I'll admit,
it feels bad, man.
I do have a list of stuff I need to buy now that I'm like getting money and stuff and wages coming through. Like, I've done so much overtime, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna buy so many cards. I've got a list of stuff to buy, and Magic decks are fairly low on the list, but there are like 4 different Magic decks on that list. Like,
I'm not surprised at all.
One of them is going to be like £1,000, and then that one is like a slow build.
That's the eventually one.
That's Legacy, and it's not even a good Legacy deck. I just like it, so I want to build it. Which is High Tide.
Sure.
It's so bad, and I love it. Right, there's one more card that was spoiled, and then we should probably wrap this up. So, 3 white. It's called Consulate Crackdown. And when it's an enchantment, when it enters the battlefield, exile all artifacts your opponents control until it leaves the battlefield.
Yeah.
So, I don't think artifacts are going to be that big in Standard, and if they are, I don't think a 5 mana enchantment is going to make a world of difference to them. Especially when there's some fairly good main deckable enchantment hate right now. But for EDH, this card is insane.
Yes. Oh goodness,
Like,
yes.
I will take out everyone else's artifacts. All of your ramp, all of your like mana rocks are gone. Half the generals have to like just go back to the command zone. This is going to be an EDH card, and a fairly good one.
So it's something that obviously I was building a mono white EDH deck, and that was one of the things I was sort of looking for, was a way of getting rid of lots of artifacts easily, and this is perfect for that.
There are a few, but nowhere near as accessible as this.
Yeah, I mean, this is 5 mana, and this is just tasty.
It's 5 mana being printed in a current set, like, it's perfect. And the fact that it's one-sided, or, well, in EDH, like, multi-sided, but not on yourself being the important part. This card is, like, I will always make jokes about EDH playable basically meaning bad, you know. But
for the most part, sure.
Most cards, if you're saying it's playable in EDH, what you're saying is it isn't good enough to be played elsewhere. This card is actually very specifically good in EDH. It's also probably not quite good enough to see play elsewhere. But the important part is that artifacts are such a big thing in EDH that this is actually a very good card there.
Yeah.
It's not just only playable in EDH. Yeah. Like, it's actually really, really powerful. Yeah. Oh man, I need to go and brew Pier's Revolution. Oh, holy shit. I was so hyped for that. What artifact sack outlets are there in Modern? Arcbound Ravager. No, let's not do that.
Probably quite a few laying about somewhere.
I will find everything. I will build that deck as soon as I can. That's going to be so much fun. Cool. Right. So we're getting spoilers over the next few weeks.
Hooray!
So I'm imagining in 4 weeks' time we will be close to having a full spoiler.
Mm-hmm. We will. We'll have a full spoiler because that will be the literally the week before pre-release.
We have timed this perfectly.
Well, that is the week that we will get the full spoiler, so we might not quite have it then. We might get it on the Monday.
True. It
Maybe try and...
Oh wait, no, we'll get it on the Monday, and sorry. So it'll work out perfectly. Sorry.
Yeah, we have actually timed it perfectly.
So cool.
We can.
So our next episode is going to be
all planned.
10 minutes of other stuff, and then like an hour of spoiler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very possibly. Yeah.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what works with Pier's Revolution and Trophy Mage and Scrap Trawler. Hello.
Are you guys at least planning to go to Aether Revolt?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. I would probably do several.
I'm, at least if I can manage it. I mean, I'm definitely gonna go to one as long as I'm free. But if I can manage it, I'm actually gonna go to Sheffield, I think, and do it with Joe.
Okay, yeah, fair. There's a
nice group thing going on.
There's a game store that we also get a staff discount at. So even if I'm like struggling at that point because I've bought too much other crap, I'll go to that place instead. It's great. Oh man, I'm so hyped. This set looks so cool. I can't wait.
I mean, same as Kaladesh, the art is still just incredible.
Oh yeah, the art is still beautiful. We haven't really touched on it, but the art is beautiful. Scrap Trawler is really weird but cool. Trophy Mage, I love the colours on it. We mentioned the Ajanis. The Tezzeret is also really good.
Battle at the Bridge. Oof.
Battle at the Bridge is weird but cool.
I love
Pier's
how,
Revolution, I love the lighting.
I love how like dark and not like visually dark. It's actually quite a bright card, which I think contrasts the kind of theming of the card. Dark intimations. Like it looks like everything is fucked. Right?
Yeah, I can't tell what the artifacts to the side are, whether they're stuff being destroyed, or it almost looks like Bolas's horns.
Yeah,
I'm really confused by that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this a lot. It's gonna be such a cool set. If it's anything like Kaladesh, it'll be amazing, right?
Damn right.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right then. So I guess that's it for us, isn't it?
Yeah. The next episode is gaming next week.
Probably.
I
think that's how the schedule works.
Yeah. Thursday goes to gaming. Week. Tuesdays. Yeah.
Tuesdays. There's going to be. Do we mention the specials? Do we hype that now?
Oh yeah, we definitely do. Sorry, we're gonna have a special
in the previous gaming episode. Myself, Yoshi, and Connor all discussed briefly, like on a whim, mentioned a Final Fantasy special where we could just bullshit at each other about which game's best.
It's basically
because
going to be
it's
a
6.
big, like, hour and a half long rant about Final Fantasies.
Basically.
6 is the best, so I don't think you need to...
After the episode, we had a discussion and realised that there's actually a great time to do it, which is this weekend, because that's when the anniversary of the first game is.
18th of December is the anniversary for Final Fantasy 1. So we'll do it.
So you can expect it then.
Also, we're going to have another bonus episode this weekend because there's wrestling predictions to do again.
Man, whose idea was this bonus episode shit? What?
I don't know. Who would have wanted to make more podcast episodes? I wonder. My bad.
Well, it certainly wasn't me. Wait. I mean, what?
Cool.
Right.
Awesome.
That's everything. Yeah.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
All the socials.
Yes.
Rough Idea Podcast, basically everywhere except Twitter, where it's Rough Idea Cast.
Yes.
Because fuck Twitter, basically.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, because that's what all good shills do on YouTube.
You don't even like on YouTube. You like...
You like,
comment,
comment, subscribe. You do.
I guess it is.
Like, comment, subscribe.
It's not
It's exactly what
liking.
you're supposed to say.
I'm thinking of that as like the...
It's the one of the golden steps to becoming a better YouTuber. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you like the content.
We're not on the screen, so we can't be like pointing at the button off the
Yeah, but
screen.
pointing at a bad point where it's not actually there.
There's an annotation over here somewhere.
There's an annotation here, points to the opposite corner. YouTube changed the layout again, the buttons moved.
Yep.
Anyway, enough rambling from us.
Yes.
Cheers for listening, everyone.
What an amazing
Hope you enjoyed.
outro.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you
Bye-bye.
later.